Yo, I should not be live right now, but I'm gonna be live because I'm on a project of vulnerability right now, and it's not gonna be a long video, but this is about horse racing because today is the Preakness, and I saw that yet another horse has fallen on the track and gotten euthanized. So this is a personal project of mine called She Speaks Horse. Whether it becomes a podcast or a vlogcast, I don't know. But I'm gonna very briefly and maybe eventually on a video where I have better lighting and more makeup talk about how I lost my horse. So as you can see, I'm in my childhood room just doing some therapy for myself, some revisiting my roots type therapy. And one of my favorite comics, Doug Stanhope, always said, like, if you need to figure out that joke, go back to your roots. Or it's very paraphrased and probably the wrong wording, but sometimes you just gotta figure out why you started to remember why you do it. So I want to talk about horses because horses are so fragile and yet so strong and so beautiful. But horse racing right now is under a lot of flack because there's just been so many injuries and deaths and, hot blood horses, meaning like they're coming up hot, which hasn't been, none of this is new, especially to the world of sports. But the Preakness is today, so I wanted to talk about that because I think a lot of people don't realize thoroughbreds are a specific type of breed. They can only be live bred. There's a lot of rules when it comes to horse racing that are super old and outdated. And a lot of these rules were established during a monarchy. They were established very old world. And a lot of these racetracks are what they are. For example, Laurel Racetrack, which is my hometown, which is where I am right now, is protected land, and they've had a lot of deaths on that track in 2023. Now it's not anything new. A lot of these horse race tracks have had a lot of deaths on them. Churchill Downs just had a bunch of euthanasias during the Race for the Roses, a lot of these tracks. And I'm not an expert on horse racing. I come from the world of eventing and the world of dressage. But I love horses, and horse racing for a lot of the time, I spent in stand-up comedy was the only way that I could still keep myself connected to the horse world. So I'll just say very briefly, I lost my horse in 2009 in a field accident, and he broke his cannon bone, which is kind of like his shin bone, clear in a 90-degree angle break. So his bone was basically hanging out of his body with a dislocated hip. So when I ran, I was literally on my way to the farm when the break happened. It's just that, he had been stocking up, which means the weather changed and I had a leg wrap on him, and I had a note on the board: please do not put out my horse, please do not turn out my horse. But somebody different was working at the barn that day and they didn't see the note, and it's nobody's fault. Things happen in the horse world. I've seen so many accidents in the horse world. I've been a vet tech myself, and I worked with large primates, mainly rhesus macaque monkeys in Baltimore, Maryland, and I've also worked with old and new world species where just things happen with animals. I can't tell you how many amputations. That was one of my main jobs at one of the labs that I worked at, was just continual limb and tail amputations, because animals and reality of people and animals is animals are animals, and when you confine them to be domesticated, shit happens. And so, like, one of my jobs as a vet tech for NIH, or under a contract for NIH, was continual tail and limb amputation. And it's just the reality of working in these conditions. So racetracks, let's talk about them. I'm not going to watch the Preakness live today. I don't think I can. I love horse racing. I love horses so much, and I think that part of this journey of coming back to Maryland is reminding myself that losing my horse was such a traumatic experience that I literally applied to any job I could in New York City to get me the fuck out of Maryland. I think when you come back to your roots, you recognize the trauma that creates the situation as to why you want to leave the fuck out of here. And that's for anybody who grows up somewhere where limiting beliefs are placed upon you, whatever that means for you. So when I lost my horse, I was a good horse owner. I took my baby to college with me. I was a mother, like, to this horse. I took him to college with me. After college, it was all about, where I could keep him, where it would be safe. I always made sure he had incredible, impeccable turnout. It's a huge reason why I decided to stay in Maryland for college. I got into a lot of schools, but the whole reason why I went to a place called McDaniel College, it's in a little town called Westminster, Maryland, is because of the grass. It's because it had the best grass for my horse. Literally, that's why I decided to go where I went to go to college. He would have the most field time. He would have the most turnout time. He would have the safest fields, because I've seen a lot of dangerous shit. I've been working since I was 11 years old. I've seen accidents with horses since I was 11 years old. I've seen horses who, they're just walking out to the arena, they clip themselves with their own foot, and they're lame for 6 months. I've seen people, get into terrible injuries. I've had terrible injuries. I broke my back when I was 14. That's why this poster is right here. It's literally like Olympians writing "Get well soon," because my friend sent this to me when I broke my back. It's a dangerous sport. And, Christopher Reeve is one of the most famous. There's a whole story behind him, and I'm not gonna talk about that, but it was right here in Virginia where he had his accident, and, based upon what, was told, he was a very top-heavy rider, meaning he was riding a lot with his hands, and something happened, and anything can happen in riding. Anything can happen with riding. So seeing the video of the horse at Pimlico in Baltimore today, having to be euthanized on the track, is a reminder that there's a lot that needs to change in horse racing. There is a debate as to whether 3-year-old thoroughbreds should still be racing. The debate is that, they're more bendy, that their cartilage is more bendy around the age of 3, between the ages of 2 and 3. Optimal health really has to do with the horse. It really has to do with the horse owner. It really has to do with the trainer. It's very individualized. But I can just say, on a very brief video that I want to share, I lost my horse to a bone break, and in college, one of my internships was at an equine surgical center in Pennsylvania, Green Glen Equine Hospital, and I saw hairline fractures there. A hairline fracture on a horse is probably a year in a cast for them, because their whole weight is held on their legs. A lot of them would have to be in a sling for just a hairline fracture. So I knew, like, when my horse had the break that he had, that it was done. It was time. It was one of the most devastating moments of my life, because in that moment you feel like a complete failure as a horse owner. You feel like you've failed as a protector. You feel like you've failed as a provider. I was 22. I'm far older than that now. But the horse life, the horse world never goes away. I'm grateful that I got my job almost immediately, and I can tell you my horse was probably a huge guardian angel, but pretty much within 30 days of him passing away, I got a job in New York City at Columbia University, which for somebody who comes from where I come from, it's a huge deal. And I learned about the world of Ivy League education and Ivy League science research, and learning that every world that you're in, every enclave, whether it's stand-up comedy, horse racing, horse eventing, horse sports, institutional science, everything has a power structure and corruption to it. So I just want to put this little video out there. This is my vlog. I'm calling it She Speaks Horse because I'm trying my best to get back into the horse world, and still figure out what I'm doing as I go. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of articles about how many horses have been euthanized this year and on the horse race tracks. I'm still a proponent for the industry because it employs so many people, but each horse's life is very much geared to the individual owner, trainer, and riders. So enjoy the Preakness today if you're watching, and thank you for watching She Speaks Horse with Kristy. All right, bye.